Hi everyone. So I wanted to share my most recent experiences that I had whilst in India. I traveled to Delhi via Kazakhstan on December 22, and upon arrival to the immigration office on a red eye flight, I was subjected to extra questions by immigration. Now, my first trip to India was over 8 years ago. I spent 5 months traveling all throughout India on my own. I had a really amazing and positive experience, so much so that it was my dream to one day get married in the northeast of India, in Manipur specifically. However, due to the current situation in Manipur, and having spoken to a number of people, I know that visiting Manipur, let alone getting married there, would be virtually impossible for what may be a number of years. And so last Christmas, when I actually traveled back to India and wanted to go to Manipur, I wasn't able to do so. And likewise on this trip, I had come to the acceptance that I would not be able to visit there as well. So I arrived to the immigration, and the officer asked me a lot of questions. Having visited India maybe 5 or 6 times previously, it was an anomaly to have all of these various questions being asked. In addition, a number of other officers came over and all began speaking in the local dialect. So I was confused. I did not know what they were talking about. I didn't understand. They wanted to know what's my purpose for coming, and I explained that I come to India to enjoy the food, that I love India, and to experience and to have a vacation. But despite this, they were not satisfied with my response. I was not traveling alone, I was accompanied by Jason. And so he, in fact, was allowed to pass through immigration, and we were separated. When we were separated, I sent him a WhatsApp message and I told him that I was concerned about being deported. My concerns were valid, in fact, because I got taken to the deportee station in Delhi Immigration Department. I was sat there for maybe 20 minutes or so, messaging my friends from around the world and telling them what was going on. Eventually, a lady came over and took me into another area, and we started speaking, and the first thing I asked her was what was going on and why there was a need for me to be there. I explained that I had a flight to Shillong in a number of hours. In fact, I was very fortunate that my flight to Shillong had been delayed. If not, I most certainly would have missed it. When I spoke to this immigration officer, she in fact told me she was from Manipur. And of course, because Manipur is one of my favorite parts of India, I was able to build rapport with her on a part of the country that I consider to be the most beautiful. I asked her why I was going through this, and she explained that there had been allegations that I had been teaching children in Shillong about Jesus. This is wholly unfounded, inaccurate, and a complete fabrication of the truth. In fact, I told her my first and last trip to Shillong was 8 years ago, and I have never met, spoken, communicated, or had any interaction with children in Shillong. I told her that the rumor didn't make any sense. In fact, if any rumor should be spread, it should be spread about other parts of the country that I visit more frequently rather than one I visited 8 years ago. And I also explained to her that I had been to India maybe 5, 6, 7 times prior, and that there had never been any issues previously. We had what I considered to be a very positive, forthcoming conversation, and she told me that she would write up a report. She was gone for an hour, returning at 5 a.m. in the morning. The flight that I was due to get on was leaving at approximately 6:40. At 5 a.m., she returned, took me back to immigration, and I was admitted into the country. When I got to baggage claim, I was able to be reunited with Jason, and we went and were able to get our flight to Shillong, where we spent Christmas. After Christmas, on the 26th of December, we traveled back from Shillong to Delhi. We were on our way to Indonesia. When we got to the immigration counter, departing from Delhi to Indonesia, once again, there were these additional questions that were asked. And once again, multiple immigration officers came over. I asked the officer what was going on, and one of the officers put the red tape in front of me, prohibiting and preventing me from getting through to the security line. He told me it is a standard procedure. I'm currently in Finland, which is my 53rd country, and have been traveling from the age of 17 by myself. Having been to over 50 countries in my lifetime and traveled 90% of those by myself, I know what is standard procedure, so I did not believe what he was saying was at all correct, let alone accurate. The immigration officer continued to ask a lot of questions, and again, multiple immigration officers came, and there was a back and forth conversation in their local language that, of course, I did not understand. This was going on for a significant amount of time, and of course I was concerned about whether I would be able to pass security and get on the flight. Eventually, I was given back my passport and traveled to Indonesia. Upon returning from Indonesia on the 30th of December via Malaysia, I was once again in immigration. When I got to immigration, I was prepared for questions because it had happened twice before. Myself and Jason went up to the immigration desk. I was first, and I went through and answered the questions. Once again, multiple immigration officers came over. Once again, my passport was taken and I was separated from Jason. Once again, I was taken to the deportee station. I was really very annoyed by this because this had happened previously, and I was not understanding why I was being subjected to all of these questions as though I was a criminal. I was responding to the questions and I was courteous and polite, but I was tired, physically exhausted because it was over after 10 p.m. in the night and had been traveling for close to 2 days. I was also just drained from the experience of having to go through this all over again, being questioned about why am I in India, being questioned about what is my purpose in India, being questioned about what did I do, where did I go, being asked about photographs on my phone. I showed the photographs on my phone and they wanted to see more, and I explained that my phone was brand new and I did not have more photos. They were asking me who did I know in Chennai. They were asking me to show the phone numbers of people. So I showed the phone number of one of my friends from Chennai and explained that he had unfortunately passed away in October in a motorcycle accident. They asked about other friends in Chennai and I said I haven't been in contact with them for 5 years, so there's no point to provide the phone number. Then they asked where I was staying. Myself and Jason stay in separate hotels, so I explained that Jason had made the bookings. He was able to get on the Wi-Fi at some point, so I was messaging him for him to send the bookings. I provided the 2 bookings. They were both in his name. The immigration had an issue. I told them I have a certain amount of money in the bank. I have Indian rupees. I can show you right now. I can book a hotel right now if it's a problem. And then they challenged me that the bookings are not in my name. And I said the bookings are for the same date and it's for 2 people. One is for him, one is for me. Yes, his name is on both bookings, but he cannot stay in 2 hotels at the same time. Now, in hindsight, I would have got him to change the bookings into my name, and he was able to do that a short while later. I just wanted this to be resolved. They then asked me to show proof of my flight ticket and my return. I explained I was returning on the 1st of January, and then I showed my ticket, which was the original ticket I had for the 2nd of January. When I showed it to them, the passport number came up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is clearly an error. Now, with my flight ticket, it would show the day that I would have left the UK and arrived in India, and my passport would, of course, say the same thing. It would demonstrate the day that I arrived. And in addition, my departure was shown for the 2nd of January. So what I mean by that is, even though I had told 1st and the ticket said 2nd, the ticket was valid, it was only an extra day, and it was a return. Then they took my phone and kept looking at the flight ticket, and they walked off. For about 10 minutes, they had my phone with their back to me, and I became very uncomfortable and suspicious about what they were doing. So I actually said, "Can I please have back my phone?" They ignored me, so I stood up, and I was able to see over the immigration officer's shoulder, and she had been looking at my photos without my consent. When I went into my WhatsApp, I had seen that she had opened my messages because the most recent message that was open was from a family member whose message had been closed when I had handed over my phone. They had invaded my privacy, they had disrespected me, and I had said to them very clearly, I have already answered these questions before, and I explained that I had spoken to an immigration officer from Manipur. The officer on the 30th of December said, well, maybe that the answers you gave were not satisfactory. I did not believe this in any shape or form because of the way in which I had built such a great rapport, in my opinion, with the immigration officer from Manipur. I described her, I gave her name, I told what had happened, and the officer who was talking to me that time, she said, I do not know who you're speaking about, but we just need you to answer these questions. I was there for 2 hours, being subjected to the same questions. As a law-abiding citizen, an individual who does not do illegal, immoral, engage in any form of criminal activity, who has traveled around the world without having any issues with immigration, the whole situation was very disconcerting. I was asked about my profession as a lawyer. I was asked if I work, where I work, prove ID and all this. I've done a number of different jobs in the UK with agency, etc. But whatever I said, they were not satisfied. The information I gave was accurate. The questions they asked me, they didn't seem to have any purpose of such. I told her very clearly that I have not engaged in any Christian missionary or sharing gospel to children in Shillong. I made that very clear to her. I communicated in a way in which I believe would ensure that this would be the end of it. The immigration officer said to me that she will take my answers and that she will ensure that I will not have this experience again. In other words, she wanted to appease me and make me feel better. She was trying to validate my feelings, but I was not convinced. And I was simply tired. I just wanted this experience to be over. I had traveled with Jason, and he had been separated, and I even asked them, you separated me from Jason. Is it because he is white? He is now left. And the immigration officer asked, where is he? And I said, I don't know and I don't care, because where he is right now is not relevant. I am with you. By the time I leave here, he can be somewhere else, so where he is right now doesn't matter. I was just exasperated. As I've said, Finland is my 53rd country. When I was in India, I was at 52 countries. It was not my first time in India. It was not my first experience traveling overseas, let alone to Asia. And having been through immigration and customs before, I knew this was not standard procedure. The whole situation was incredibly upsetting, and it really bothered me because I felt I wasn't being listened to. I felt that I was being talked to and spoken to as though I was an idiot who didn't know or understand that I had rights as a human being. And I explained to her that I have rights. I told her point blank, I am not an idiot. I am an attorney. I'm an intelligent person. I'm a British citizen. I have rights. And I deserve to receive information as to why you have kept me here. Having previously spoken to a lawyer in India, she had told me that even if you had been telling children about Jesus, you have freedom of speech in India. She had told me that it is harassment and that they should not be doing this to you. As I mentioned, this was on 29th, 30th of December when I had returned from Indonesia. Then on the 1st of January 2025, when I was now leaving India to return to the UK, I had come to immigration. And when I had come to immigration, once again, a number of officers came over. I was prepared this time. However, on this occasion, I began to lose my patience. And that is because this was not the first time this had happened. This was the 4th time. Every other immigration station, there was one person and one passenger. One person, one passenger. However, now there were 3. Initially, the immigration officer, he had told me his computer system wasn't working, which I believe was an outright lie because it had been working prior to me coming to his desk. He then said that he could not see my visa, it was not registering. He left with my passport and then returned, but before leaving, he put the red tape to prevent me from going through to security. When he returned, there was other officers surrounding him, including one female. As I said, at this point, I had lost my patience, and I asked her point blank, "Why are you here?" I said, "Every other station, there's only one person." She said, "I'm just passing by. I'm not doing anything." And I said, "But why are there 3 of you here?" I said to her, "Every other station, there's one person." And she flat out lied to me and told me misinformation that she was just passing by, which I knew wasn't true. I noticed the immigration officers spoke very little. So even if I had any understanding of Hindi or their local language, I would not have known what was going on at all. And then, of course, as usual, they take my passport. They ask lots of questions. Now, whilst this was happening, my passport is still with the immigration officer. And then they decide to allow Jason out of the country. So Jason's passport was taken, stamped, and he got through. Then I was told to go through with them. So I went through, then they told me to go back on the other side of the red tape, and then I went back. Now this is me trying to leave India to return to the United Kingdom, which is my home, born and bred in the UK, a citizen of the United Kingdom. Now I go through with the immigration officer, and they take me to a room. I am trying to leave, and now once again I'm taken to a room for questioning. They asked me the same questions they've asked before. And this time, I was not as relaxed as before. I was not as cooperative as before because I was fed up. I was angry. I was outraged. I was irritated. Yes, I answered the questions incredibly sharply because I was done with it all. I literally didn't care. I was not in an attempt to provoke them to throw the keys at me and arrest me. That was not the plan. I did not use profanity or vulgar language, but I communicated that I was not happy at all, and I spoke very firmly that I have rights as a British citizen, that I have rights to know what is going on. I told them I'm a lawyer, I have rights to know what is going on. And they told me to sit down and to be quiet, or to be more firm. They pretty much told me to shut up and sit down, and I was told that repeatedly, even though I was sitting down. And then the female officer, the same one who had earlier said she was just passing by, which we now can see was a flat-out lie, she asked me, where am I from? Why am I here? Initially, she had asked me for my name, and I told her, you can look in my passport for my name. And she said, but I do not have your documents. What's your name? And I actually refused to tell my name. Yeah, that might seem stupid and ridiculous, but try to consider how you would feel having gone through this multiple times, the same types of questioning. In fact, the Manipur lady who first questioned me had asked me multiple times, when did you come? When are you leaving? Where did you go? It was the same questions the Manipur lady asked me about 3 or 4 times. When did you arrive? That answer is not going to change. When do you leave? The answer doesn't change. So, of course, on the 1st of January, when I'm going through the exact same thing all over again, my patience is wearing very thin. my answers will not change. I told this new immigration officer that I have not been teaching children Christian, Hindu, Muslim. I have not done that. I told her I have not been with children. I said that I was with friends in Shillong. Who are the friends? How do I know the friends? All these kinds of questioning. Then she's asking for my UK address, my UK phone number. What is my profession? Do I work? All of these things. And I was losing my patience and very sharp in my responses because I was fed up. That's why when she asked my name, I refused to give it. Because why do you need my name? You know who I am. Previously, they took a photograph of the screen, the immigration screen. They took a scan of my passport, a scan of Jason's passport. I did not understand all of this. By him associating with me, now his name is flagged. And I'm sitting in this room with this female officer who had lied to me previously that she was passing by, and another officer being asked the same questions, being deceived deliberately, not being told what is the purpose of these questions. It is harassment. Earlier, I had said that they're treating me like a criminal. And then this female officer had said I had accused them of being criminals. And I said to her, no, that is not what I said. I said point blank, you are treating me like a criminal. And she said that we are not like American or British immigration officers. We are being very polite to you. And I can say that, in fact, compared to how British or American immigration officers may behave, I wouldn't know because I don't experience this kind of thing. I feel quite certain she's correct. I will say that I was spoken to and communicated to in a courteous way on previous occasions. With this officer, when she was waving her finger in my face, raising her voice, shouting at me, telling me to sit down and shut up, even though I was already sitting down at a certain point, her demeanor and attitude towards me was not acceptable. But I can say that all previous times that the immigration officers communicated to me as though they were on my team. They, in my opinion, were very deceptive by making it seem as though we can help you, this will all be solved. The fact of the matter is, I have not done anything wrong. I am not on the wrong visa. I have a 5-year visa that expires in 2028. In fact, she even made a comment about how I have this visa expiring in 2028. The fact is, with all that I have gone through, why on earth would I want to ever return to India when I'm going through an experience for no good cause? I don't know if this is because of the color of my skin, because I traveled with Jason, who's a white American. He got through immigration every time without issue. I have been to India many times without issue, so I do not understand what is going on. The only thing we can do is make assumptions because we do not have proof of anything. We can only guess. It's a guessing game, but the fact of the matter is, I have done nothing wrong. I have a 5-year visa expiring in 2028. I should be able to have the freedom to travel without fear of immigration questioning me, harassing me, treating me in such a way when there is no just cause. Being told that it is a standard procedure is a flat lie, as though I am some sort of idiot. I am an intelligent human being. I am a qualified lawyer who has traveled to 53 countries as of today. I came into Finland. The immigration officer didn't ask a question. My passport was stamped. As I've said, I do not ever engage in illegal, immoral, or criminal activity. I am a U.S. attorney for the state of New York. However, I do not use my U.S. attorney's license because I require a work permit or visa. So when I was being questioned about being an attorney and if I practice law in India, I do not practice law anywhere in the world because I require a work permit to practice in the US, and outside of the US, the laws are different. So to be going through all these kinds of questioning when I have just simply come to India for a Christmas vacation, spent time with friends, where everything I say is challenged, when I explain that I eat great food in Chennai in the restaurants and that answer is not satisfactory, this isn't right. I'm making this video because it needs to come to an end. I should not be subjected to this when I go into or out of the border. I don't know if you can understand or imagine what it's like to have traveled to India for Christmas holiday, to be leaving on the 1st of January, and then to be taken to a separate room despite the fact that you're leaving the country and that there is no sufficient grounds or basis for this to happen. I have reached out to my Indian contacts throughout the country, and thus far none of them have any connections or contacts to be able to get me the truth. I know from my personal experience that the embassy can only do so much, and in the most respectful, politest way possible, I think the embassy doesn't help. That's my personal viewpoint, and my viewpoint is quite strong. I think the embassy is a waste of time. So when people have advised me, talk to the embassy has nothing to do with this. There is something flagged on the Indian immigration website or the Indian immigration page connected to my name that is causing me to be subjected to this. I have future plans to return to India. It was my favorite country in the world. That is no longer the case. But I should not feel as though I cannot return, that I cannot get on my flights that have already been booked and paid for because I will go through this experience again. I am therefore appealing to anyone who is able to help me to come to the bottom of this so that the truth can be revealed, so that I can be vindicated and my name can be made completely clear. The fact that I can come to Finland without issue, go to Indonesia and Malaysia without issue, but there are issues in India. Something is wrong and it needs to be resolved. So as I said, this is an appeal to anyone who can help me to have justice served, for my name to be cleared, for me to be vindicated, and for this to come to an end. Thank you for listening and for your time today. Bye for now.